Most PoSH failures don't begin with a complaint. They begin with some decides silence is safer. An internal committee can exist on paper, but can employee trust it when the risk is personal? By the end of this conversation, leaders will have practical way to identify silent signals, strengthen trust, report, and move PoSH from an annual compliance to an everyday workplace safety. In India, workplaces with 10 or more employees must constitute an internal committee with local committees supporting smaller work groups, workplaces, and complaints against each any employer. Yet, policies exist alone does not guarantee employee confidence using in this process. Hybrid work, digital communication, AI enabled monitoring, and reputation sensitive workspaces are changing how organizations detect, document, investigate, and prevent harmful behavior. Supreme Court has previously flagged gaps in the implementation of the PoSH framework and issued directions to strengthen compliance. The real leadership challenge is not merely creating an internal committee, it's creating a culture where people believe they can speak, be heard fairly, and remain after speaking safe is what we are looking at. Today's guest is an expert in PoSH, DEI, EPA, mental health, and supports CII and IWN Tamil Nadu leadership in reflecting in public access profile information. The claims author of two and a TEDx speaker are the starting in the input but not independently verified in this run. Before we dive into the topic and welcome to the speaker to the podcast, let's look at a small video about Power of Knowing Forum. Hi, let's welcome to the Preeminent Conclave by Power of Knowing Forum, where insights become strategic advantage. Viji is joining us, and let's dive into the topic. Hi, Viji ma'am. Welcome to our
Yeah.
podcast. How are you today?
All well, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here on the PK podcast.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. A small intro about yourself to the audience.
Yeah. So I have overall 26 years of experience, and for the last 13 years, I've been specializing in the space of creating a safe workplace. So when we say safe, we prevent sexual harassment, we create a culture of inclusivity and mental safety. Mental wellness is something that we take care of. Any culture audit, so we ensure that organizations are safe. In the last 13 plus years, I've supported more than 1,000 plus corporates across India and globally as well. And I've handled more than 300 plus PoSH cases in my career, and I have a team who's spread across India to help me on this journey. And I've also authored two books, Behind Closed Cubicles, Break the Taboo, on the topic of sexual harassment and on mental health. All stories about things that happen at workplaces. I'm also a TEDx speaker, so happy to be here and share my knowledge as possible.
Thank you, ma'am. Let's begin with one important question. Why do people remains silent even when a PoSH process exists?
Okay. So wonderful. That is the topic, why people remain silent. There are multiple things. It is the fear of retaliation, fear of trust in the organization, fear of confidentiality being breached. So the crux of it is they don't trust the process in the organization. And that is where people fear filing a complaint and they prefer to stay silent.
Okay, got it, ma'am. So, why does PoSH fail when policy exists but trust does not exist?
Yeah. So policy is something that's on paper, right?
Mm, mm,
But trust is something that's more an experience for people. So just having a policy alone is not going to help, but people should experience that trust. And that is something that's very important. So you may have policies, but the funny part is a lot of organizations, when I go and talk to the employees, I have asked them, hey, do you know where the policy is?
mm.
A lot of leaders themselves, they don't know the policy, where the policy is. And then the next question would be, okay, so those who know where the policy is, how many of you have read the policy? Again, hands go down. So people, so policy may be existing, but people don't even read the policies. It's very important that as HRs, they play a very, very crucial point in ensuring they give some nuggets of the policies. They keep sharing, they keep talking about it, and that's something that's very important. And not just the policy, but create the trust. See whether the policies are not there or not. Employees should know that, hey, if there is a concern, I can trust my HR, I can reach out to them, I can trust my internal committee, I can reach out to them. That trust, whether you have policy or not, if you have the trust, your job is done.
Got it, ma'am. Now, when what are the most common reasons employees choose to silent? Fear of retaliation, career damage, social isolation, loss of confidence, or disbelief that anything will change?
Yeah. So, see, I think yes, all of these are some of the reasons, but the personal safety is what that also is something that's very big. The
Mm,
stigma that the society attaches. Oftentimes people go silent because of the stigma in the society, or their risk that they will not be believed in whatever they say, or they may lose their job. So these are all the fear that goes in there, which makes people stay silent. And
mm.
a lot of times the perpetrator think that silence is a consent, whereas
Okay.
silence is not consent, it is fear. Silence could also indicate fear.
Yeah.
So that is the reason.
Now, many victims choose not to report sexual harassment because they feel they don't have enough evidence. So, what would you say to someone who silently struggling for this reason?
See, do not worry about evidence. I think all that matters is the fact.
Mm.
Note down the date, time, who was present, any CCTV is present. Give us the
Okay.
facts, when all it happened, where all it happened, and if you are able to narrate that, and we will figure out. Okay, so I usually keep sharing this particular scenario, which is very close to my heart. One lady, she came back and said that my manager keeps staring at me, but I don't have proof. And he's very senior. I'm scared also to give her
Okay.
a written complaint. So this staring complaint is a very, very common thing because people think they can get away. There's no proof, nothing written, nothing spoken. No one else would have noticed. And a lot of
Yeah.
times people would say, yeah, I'm staring, I was thinking, that's why I'm staring. So that's an excuse that people give. So this lady came back and told, so we said, okay, you don't worry. You told us we will come back to you in 2 or 3 days' time. So in
Mm.
that 2 or 3 days' time, as I see, what we did was we placed a HR person in that workplace wherever she was sitting and working. We told the HR person, you just go silently work and keep
Okay.
observing what is happening. After 2 days, the HR got so frustrated. She came back and she said, if that lady is not filing, I'm going to file a complaint because the
Okay.
way that manager was staring at her, it is
Mm.
not professional at all. I will be the witness. I will file a complaint otherwise. So
Okay.
that is enough for us. See, I think it's important that people speak up, whether you have evidence or not. but please report it, because and there's so many instances that I can keep sharing, because if one person is talking about person A, another person is also talking about person A, we know that there is some problem happening, right? So there is something that's there. We will figure out. We will find out the CCTVs. There are multiple ways that we can figure it out with our experience. But reporting is something that's very important.
So I think what we are also saying is, first you need to give an indication whether uh, it is right or wrong, but somewhere it has to be reported, is what you are saying. What are the early warning signals that a workplace has policy compliance but not psychological or physiological safety that is there for them?
Yeah. So one, a lot of organizations, see, as per compliance, you need to have the policy. Yes, you need to have the
Mm,
internal committee members.
mm,
So I keep asking the internal committee members, saying, "Hey, you're all being given this powerful position. It's a very
yeah.
good thing, but how many employees know that you are the IC member? Have you actually doing and tom-tomming saying that I'm the IC member?" They're like, "No, I don't think employees know that I'm the IC member." See,
Okay.
there we are failing again, right? As these are one of the warning signs, because as IC members are there, but they're not accessible, they're not visible to the employees. So that's one failure. The second failure is leaders are not walking the talk. So that's another
Mm,
big warning signs, where leaders themselves are cracking double meaning jokes, or they are like going and patting someone on the back. They think it's a friendly gesture or a modern culture. So, but these are warning signals again. Managers dismissing concerns. If employees are raising concerns, and managers just say it as, "Oh, must be wrong with her. So she alone is having a problem. So it is not."
okay.
These are the problems that organizations, I think, and when HRs are celebrating zero complaints, right? A lot of HRs that I met, they proudly come back and tell me that, "Oh, Viji, there's zero complaints in the last 3 years in my organization." I can proudly say that,
Mm,
right? And from my experience, my question to the HR is, okay, very good, you have zero complaints, but can you proudly say there are zero victims?
yeah.
You can have zero complaints, but you have zero victims. I can vouch from my experience, from because I've worked with so many organizations, so many trainings that I've conducted. I do one small anonymous survey at the end of every training, and I have seen a pattern where every organization, minimum 4% of women are victims. 4 to
Mm,
6% are victims in every organization. If the number is beyond 6%, then your organization is red alert. You have to drastically change the culture. So that is something that I've seen. I've seen organizations with 10, 8% also, but the culture is really bad there. You have to bring it down to 4%. 4% will be there. Mm, Men and women are bound to interact, emotions, chemistry, all of those things are bound to happen, but at least those can be addressed.
okay. Now, some victims hesitate to file a complaint, right? Because they feel sorry for the perpetrator, or worry that the person may lose his job or their family, that may suffer. So that's one challenge they feel, and they feel sorry for them. Being when they do that kind of a mistake, also they feel that they should not complain. How can how common is this, and what is your advice would you like to give on such situations, Vijay?
Yeah. So definitely, this is a very, very common thing. Sometimes I feel very sorry when people come back and say, so I asked them, when the complainants come and report it to us, I keep asking them, "Hey, this has been happening for you for last 2 years. Why did you even tolerate it?"
Yeah.
So their answer is, "Ma'am, what if he loses his job or his family? I know he has a family. What if they lose? I mean, his family will suffer because of this." Such a naive answer, but one thing that people should understand is that speaking up is not revenge.
Yeah.
It is about their own dignity, right? So it is putting a stop to the dignity. So, and I also use this analogy that if someone is driving irresponsibly on a road, will we just let that person be? Just because he didn't hit my car, will I just let him drive? Right?
Mm,
You have to report it, right? And I have seen cases where one lady, sorry, there's a small power cut.
Yeah.
But my internet is on, so I'll continue talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one lady came to me and said that, ma'am, this person did this when I was a fresher 3 years ago.
Okay.
He did this pattern of sending text messages or sexting me late in the night, and I ignored it. I said, why should I complain? And I felt sorry for him and I ignored it. But now I'm seeing that even the new freshers who have joined today are also
Mhm.
going through the same pattern by that guy. I wish I had spoken up 3 years ago.
Okay.
See how what happens when we don't report, when we feel sorry for the perpetrator, that we are only encouraging that behavior. We are only giving them the courage to repeat it with others. They think that women will not speak up. It's
Mm.
okay, let me do it with many more. So
Okay.
please do not encourage that behavior. We can understand that maybe you're scared that something may happen to you outside office, or maybe what if this person does something, or your work may get impacted. These are fears that you may have, but at least report to us and tell us that, ma'am, don't take action, but at least I'm bringing to your. So at least when you report, we will figure out how to take action without letting your name out. At least trying to prevent it. At least we will take you out of that situation, put you in a safer zone. Those things are very, very important. Please speak up.
I think very important. Now, how should the see? I think when we have the policy, even the business has to look at these policies, right? How should a CHRO or a business leader test whether employees genuinely trust the reporting system itself? So, your take on it,
Okay.
Viji.
So again, I will give them one powerful test over there. Um, Ask anonymously. So maybe when the CHRO is around, see, there are so many now technology. Again, you have to make use of technology. There are so many polls that you can create online, or
Hmm.
in a Zoom platform. You can just create an anonymous poll where you don't even know who is answering. You just ask them, put up a poll and say, do you trust the committee? If you are a victim, will you confidently report us?
Okay.
So that is one powerful question. Have helplines where at least people can call and anonymously report. See, when there's helpline, they can call from any phone number and they can talk about it. Correct? At least that is something that's very important. So create those mechanisms, create those process, and check with them. And as long as leaders and CXOs, they keep re-emphasizing this, that is when trust comes in.
So, what you are saying is, it is let's keep it very simple. There is always a policy document. Trust is an experience that the employee should be experiencing, right? Or trust is one thing that he has to get when he speaks to somebody. That's the trust that has to be built. An organization, as you rightly said, an organization may conduct annual PoSH trainings and display internal committee details. And you also made a point that you'll have to say who's the IR, right?
I see.
So I see. Okay,
Internal
I
committee.
see. Internal committee. So I'm going into the incident response side. Sorry, there. Okay. So I think people have to be very clear to say this is the leader who's going to help us and understand. But employees still avoid reporting because they believe their managers will know, their appraisals may suffer. That's the challenge. That's the or if there is an incident, it is normally that the employee gets distanced by other people, and sometimes he distanced himself also, as he could not handle the situation. Am I right in
Hmm.
saying that?
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely. So
Yeah.
I think,
So
yes, good experience. I think
so
rightly said.
posh fails first when silence feels safer than truth, is what we can say as a pointer. Now, how can leaders build a reporting culture without creating fear, gossip, or false confidence? Any pointers around it?
Okay, so I support a lot of organizations. So usually my tenure with any organization when I sign up with them is 3 years as per the law. Because up to 3 years you can be I represent as an external member or third party in an organization. So in one of the organizations that I was, there were no complaints for first 2 years that I was. And third
Okay.
year, the HR calls me and says, Vijay, there's a complaint. Can you come in to the office?
Hmm.
I go in. Next week, they call me again. Vijay, there's one more complaint. The third week, third complaint. And I was
Okay.
like, hey, what happened? 2 years, no complaints. All of a sudden, why there are three complaints? So that is when The HR said that, Viji, what happened last month? My DGM, he traveled from Bangalore and he came down to Chennai. And
Mm.
for 45 minutes, he called all the employees and he spoke about PoSH. He addressed them and he said, in my workplace or in
So,
my under me, there should not be a single woman who's being affected. I will support everyone. No, not a single woman should suffer, or that respect should not be there. And I don't want any complaints on any one of you. If at all there's a complaint, I will take a strong action, and please report it. So that is the trust. And for 45 minutes, he spoke, addressed, and imagine that amount of trust that women got, that it gave them the courage to come forward and report it. But till then, they were silently suffering all of these things. They're just keeping it because they didn't know where to report, or they didn't know whether their voices will be heard. Because a lot of times, these victims are all junior folks, people without power. So when it comes from the top leader, there's some magic happening where, again, the trust comes to the employees. Then zero tolerance when managers talk about, leaders talk about. I can keep talking about these stories. In another instance, also, one of the ladies, she was suffering with this kind of harassment for almost 6 months.
okay.
And finally, she came and spoke. So we said, "What made you speak up?" So,
Mm.
ma'am, I know the IC presiding officer, IC head, but she is a good friend of my manager. She goes for coffees and all with my manager. And I wanted to file a complaint on my manager, so I was scared. Since they both are friends, how will I report? I don't
Oh,
know how she will handle it. But then there was another IC member who came and approached us and spoke to us last week.
okay.
I felt she was very senior, she was very reasonable, she
Mm.
felt more approachable. I felt I could trust her. That is
Okay.
when I went and spoke to her. See, I think the difference as leaders, when you're leaders, I think being accessible to employees, because these are very sensitive points, these are sensitive information of someone's life incident. This is an account of their life. This leaves a scar for the rest of their life. And if they have to share that, open up and share that to someone, they need to trust the leadership. And leaders play a very crucial role on that.
Now you said there's a fear, right? So when if there is a problem, how do I refer? Because I know that person very closely, right? So now, what are some early warning signs of inappropriate work behavior that employees should never ignore, even if it seems minor at first? One pointer you said, because somebody gave that pointers where they did not know how PoSH is going to work, right? So there was a detailing that given or a session that was taken. Now, how should these kind of minor incidents also be getting reported?
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that is what, as long as the trust is created, and the other point is the reporting mechanism should be accessible for all employees. So, even if a fresher who's joined in 5 minutes, if they can find out where to report, and that is your success rate, right? Either you, I'm sure most of the organizations have something called intranet. So, is
Mm,
there a search button in the intranet where people can just search for PoSH policy or where to report PoSH, and if that can bring up the answer, that is one easy way for people to look up and report. And if there are posters that are there for you, which every organization, again, compliance, as part of compliance, in the lobby or reception area in every organization, you should be displaying where to report in case of sexual
yeah.
harassment. That's again should be accessible. As long as all of these things are there, and there's also an order that came in where from Supreme Court, which said that even on your internet websites,
Mm,
display any grievance mechanism. Because what if your customers or visitors who are coming into your office, if they get harassed, where will they report?
yeah.
Right? Because, like, for example, like banks, hotels, restaurants,
Mm,
a lot of customers are going to be visiting over there. If they are harassed, where will they report? So they can only go to the internet website and search. So these are
yeah.
some very good mechanisms for organizations to ensure that people can easily report.
Now, what should the employees hear from the leadership before an incident happens? Not only one is reported. So, what should they hear?
Before an incident is reported, is it?
Right.
Um, uh, One, from leaders, definitely that there is zero tolerance,
Mm,
that there will not be any retaliation on that employee. There won't be any impact on their job. And whether it is a top performer or a senior person, that action, justice will prevail. As long
mm.
as employees are told about this, and maintenance of confidentiality. When confidentiality is not breached, when justice will prevail, there's no impact on their career. I think these are key things for employees to come forward and report.
Got it. So there is always again a pointer where organizations need to communicate confidentiality, right? So how can organizations communicate confidently, honestly, without promising secrecy that may not be able to be maintained? Because at times we know what is the issue, right? Most of there would be a pattern that we see. What do you
Hmm.
say? Am I right in saying that, Jimmy?
See, this is again a very, very important thing. Confidentiality is something that the law requires. But what we've been seeing is, not only the organizations, they maintain, internal committee maintains confidentiality, okay? It is the employees where they start gossiping, they get to know,
Mm,
they talk about
okay.
it. Either they share with their colleagues because they want to vent it out, they want to let it
Yeah.
out of their system, so they just want to open up and share, and people talk, right?
Mm,
Or the way people are going for the meetings and coming back, and others will start guessing if something is happening here.
okay.
So those are some of the things that happen. A lot of times, it is not just from the committee that the confidentiality is breached. Committee is bound by confidentiality; they cannot breach it, so they will take all measures. Very rarely, I've seen it is in the early stages, but now I think committees are very mature to maintain confidentiality. But it is from the leaders, from co-workers, from the complainant and respondent, they breaching. What I've seen is respondents, they start going and threatening all the witnesses, saying, if you speak up, what I've got a complaint, you should not speak up. They'll go and start threatening people, right? That is how it starts spreading. They start talking about it, right? Victims will start gathering evidences. They'll say, hey, no, did you see this? They will start gathering evidences. So it's all out of fear that they do, but that's how gossip spreads and confidentiality gets breached. But
Got.
at the organization level, that is something that's assured, and as long as they're mature organization, that is something that's taken care of.
What role should managers play when employee raises an informal concern but does not want to file a formal complaint? Because you told something because they are scared. In the start of the point where we
Correct.
started is they want to voice out but they don't want to complain. So
Correct.
how do we look at these pointers?
Oh, this is a beautiful thing. From the recent cases that has there been in the media and all, where some of the managers were arrested itself, the
Mm,
employees were voicing out saying, take action, and managers are not really taking action. They
okay.
want to suppress it. They just want to ignore those complaints. So that is the kind of scenario that we are. But if at all any employee is scared, they are approaching you as manager and reporting. One, you should understand that you're not given the powers of the internal committee to do an investigation.
Mm,
You are only a receiver of the complaint, and you have to deliver that complaint to the authorities who can handle it. That is the internal committee over here, or to the HR. So
mm,
report it to the consulting. Even if an employee says, "Boss, I'm telling it to you with confidence. You please don't tell." Please understand, sexual harassment is a crime. It's a
mm,
and there is a law that protects. So, as managers, as HRs, as leaders, if you are aware of any sexual harassment and if you have not taken action, you're liable tomorrow. You can also be penalized for that.
yeah.
So, as managers, there is no thing that, hey, I will keep it within myself. Nothing of that sort. Give them the trust. Take the complaint, give them the trust, that tell them the different options that is there for them, and do not investigate. Do not. Some managers I've seen, oh, that guy did. Oh, see what I will do. I will throw him out of the organization. So as managers, they should not wear the knight in the shining armor and go and protect the
No.
damsel in distress. So let them not do that at all, because you don't have the powers. you just be the messenger where you take the complaint and you forward it to the HR or thing, and protect the complainant, ensure she's safe. Tell them that please safeguard all the proofs that you have. Give them those options, but connect them with the right person. Just be the messenger.
I think the manager should listen, document appropriate facts, explain available options, right, and connect with the employee to give the right support. And what we can avoid also is both extremes, pressuring people to complain and ignoring informal warning signs also is a challenge that we are seeing, right?
Correct.
The I think the legal framework includes structured redressal of mechanisms, but the employee awareness and the manager readiness often is determined whether those mechanisms are used in that time, right? I think that's the point that we would like to. Confidentiality is not silence; it's responsible, fair handling is what we wanted to say. And what makes an internal committee credible, competent, and trusted, Vijay ma'am?
Yeah. So, one, as I really said earlier, internal committees are a very powerful committee in every organization. The Indian law, the created said that every organization that has more than 10 employees should have an internal committee in their organization, their premises itself. And this committee is given the powers of a civil court, it's quasi judiciary powers, right? So,
Okay.
what does that mean? Is even lady employee is being a victim, she need not go to the police station, she need not go to the court because it's all time consuming. She has to take a day off, she has to go, they make them run around, and such a one case will go for 10 years. She cannot waste her career and time and everything just for her dignity, correct?
Mm,
So
mm.
what the law said was there is an internal committee, the courtroom is there in your workplace itself. Women can approach that courtroom and within 3 months they can get the justice. That's how powerful this internal committee is. And as long as internal committee members are aware of this role and responsibility, and they should make themselves visible to everyone. So if I walk into any office, this is another powerful test for the internal committee members itself. If they walk into their premises and randomly pick any employee and ask, do you know who the internal committee members is? Employee should be able to point out.
Yeah,
If they
got it.
pass that test, it means they are doing a right. They'll come and approach them. So that's something very very important.
Yeah.
And one more thing is, people trust the process only when they trust the people who are running it. So when people don't trust the internal committees, they won't trust the process at all. That's something that's very important.
Now, while the responsibility of preventing sexual harassment lies with the perpetrator and the organization, are the practical steps employees can take to protect themselves, set boundaries, respond effectively if they experience an inappropriate behavior.
Hmm. Yeah. So I think it's very,
Okay.
very important. Some of the tips that employees, victims can, before becoming a victim, what are the things that they can do to protect is very clearly set boundaries. I think
Mm.
how people see you cannot if you don't draw a boundary, anyone will come inside. When we draw the boundary, misbehave, right? And there is a beautiful thing called good targets and bad targets, right? People
Mm.
who are good
Mm.
targets are weak, vulnerable, they don't speak up, right? So those are the good targets. I always keep saying be a bad target, correct, where people cannot approach you. That is something that we have to, as women, we have to safeguard ourselves. And simple things like not sharing your personal details, not sharing everything or every your life story on social media, where you go, do you have a boyfriend, where you're staying alone, where are you traveling that day, whether you're drinking, whether you're smoking. See, no one, these are the things where people start judging you based on all of these stories. And I've seen cases where women who are single, single mothers, single breadwinners, people who coming from smaller towns to bigger towns to earn their livelihood, become easy target. Don't share these personal details. Correct? Only when we things are being misused by people. A simple example: one lady had joined as a new person in the team. The manager called her and introduced her to the whole team, and in front of the team, do you drink and do you smoke? Do you have a boy? During introduction. So the manager's idea was to just to get to
Mm.
know the person in front of everyone. He asked. So the lady said, "Yes, I drink and smoke." So one person sitting in that team, he thinks that, oh, the girl drinks and smokes, so she will be okay for a hug also. So that day evening when she's
Okay.
walking out, this guy goes out, escorts her out, and gives her a hug. Bye, and he walks. And the girl's like, why is this guy coming and hugging me? See what perceptions
Mm.
that people have, right? So I think it's very, very important that certain things, personal details, please do not share it at all because not everyone thinks the same.
Yeah. Now, what capabilities matter most for internal committee members beyond legal knowledge, empathy, neutrality, evidence handling, documenting, interviewing, and conflict management?
Hmm. I think, see, those are all those skills that are acquirable or learnable skills that anyone can learn. Your
Mm.
knowledge on the law, interviewing skills, and those things and all can be acquired with experience. But what matters the most is, are you being human enough? Do you have the empathy? And do you
Mm.
believe in the cause? And that is what is important. That is not something that can be acquired, right? That empathy, the sense of empathy, belief in being fair and just, putting yourself in their shoes and responding accordingly. I think that is what differentiates a good internal committee member from the rest.
How can organizations prevent internal committee from being perceived as management committee? Because most of the time it so happens that the same members are available on these committees, right? Hello.
So, yes, yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can.
Yeah, okay. So, internal from being perceived as management is what is the question, right?
Yeah.
One mistake that a lot of organizations do is that see, one of the criteria in the law is to have a senior woman as the internal committee presiding officer, as the chairperson of the internal committee. So they usually don't have very senior women in organizations, so they end up putting their CHR presiding officer. And so that's
Mm.
something CHROs or CXOs. See, these people have a conflict of interest. For them, their responsibility is also enhancing the businesses, enhancing the
Yeah.
numbers, enhancing the productivity. That is their dual responsibility. Whereas here, in internal committee, they're also part of the committee. There is to give fairness. What if a complaint comes against a senior person? What if a complaint comes against a top performer? Where will their
Mm.
loyalty be, right? So because they have dual response, I think that is where one failure happens over there. So definitely, I would say, do not have internal committee members from the management team or from the CXO levels. Do not have them there. So it fails the principles of natural justice. So then you won't be perceived. Uh, then the other point is, let the internal committee work independently without any pressure. Internal committee empowered to take their own decisions. And the members in the internal committee should have a strong spine to stand up and support. They should not be saying, hey, if the management allows, I will get the CCTV evidence. If I have to go request for it. So the internal committee member should be confident saying, hey, we will look at it. So they just have to send a mail and it should be available for them. Right? That is the power. So empowerment is very, very important, and definitely not have anyone who have the conflicts with dual responsibilities as the top level CXO level people.
What should the boards and CEOs review quarterly to know whether this mechanism is really working? Not just saying it is existing on paper or it is there as a policy, right? So, what should be they reviewing in a quarterly basis?
So this is a beautiful question for CEOs and boards because very few companies of CEOs and boards are doing this. Okay, so I'm
Mm.
associated with actively around at least 300 plus, I think, where we are supporting their organizations, and I know only 3 or 4 CEOs are actually doing a quarterly review. Rest of them are not even doing it, right? So it is very, very important because once the CEO is doing it, there's an extra accountability where IC members know that, hey, I have to report this in my board report on the quarter. What have I done? So as CEOs, don't just look at the case numbers, but also look at what prevention measures are being done. And I know some CEOs who are very smart. They will be able to track saying, hey, last time also, last quarter also, you said this complaint came from that particular department. What is wrong with
Mm.
this particular department? Why all the complaints are coming from that particular department?
Okay.
Right? I think that is the smartness because they know their business, they know the systems, and they know how it is linked across the globe, right? Different people working across things, so they can relate it better. And anything that comes from the top management, as long as if the CEOs are saying, please take a strong action, very crucial role in at least reviewing. Spend 15 minutes in every quarterly reviews on the PoSH numbers as well, because you're creating a safer culture and the productivity overall. See, at the end of it, while handling a case, we are one the senior people are involved in doing inquiry. People may lose their jobs, productivity is getting impacted, there's gossips happening everywhere, the culture in the organization is a question. So that 15 minutes that a leader can spend every quarter can make a lot of difference.
Now, what we are also saying is, as you rightly said, you need to have people who trust the process when they trust the people running it also, right? So that becomes a very crucial point, right? A committee member who casually discusses a complaint with a peer can destroy trust. So that's the point. And in that entire system, even if the formal process is technically correct, right? So that's what we are trying to say here. We also say an internal committee earns trust through uh, conduct, not designation, because we rightly say, we spoke about saying that you should not have the management people also part of the PoSH committees because they could be biased, right? And that is one thing. That how should PoSH evolve or hybrid work? Because we are in an era after COVID, at least it is an hybrid environment everywhere. Digital behaviors, AI era workplaces. So how do you look at this?
Yeah. So definitely, so the kind of complaints that we are getting, or the forms of harassment, the way the incidents are happening, they are getting advanced based on the technology changes also. So we are seeing different patterns, a lot of things on social media. Emojis, sometimes people come and claim, oh, I didn't know it was a kiss emoji, I didn't know it was
Yeah.
a hug emoji. So late night messages, screenshots, morphing of images, morphing of not just images, morphing of videos, also something that we've been seeing. And yes, with technology advance, people also find out unique ways of harassing people. But as I see, we are also using the technology to crack those cases also. That is something that we are doing. But at the end of it, whether it is hybrid work or digital behavior, one thing that has remained is the law has been very strong in last 13 years. It has seen COVID, it has seen this all this AI environment. The law did not require a single bit of change. It's very, very robust.
Mm.
At the end of it, people who are running the internal committee, they need to be fair, empathetic, and deeply human in handling cases, whatever be the case, type of case.
No, no, you said very important because these emojis, these chat messages, morphing. What are the new forms of misconduct or discomfort are emerging through chat tools, video calls, and virtual meetings. That's very important today, and social media after hours of the digital communication. So, what are those emerging today?
So, yeah, as I said, people misusing people's photographs, they download pictures without permission or they upload it by morphing it on some Telegram channels and all those things. So that is very, very disturbing for employees. And in video calls, asking people, calling them late night or without any unscheduled meetings and asking them to come on video calls, right? So these are some small, small things, and sending unwanted emojis, late night sexting people. These are some things that have been very commonly, and again, sending multiple requests when they're being rejected. When the friend can easily record, they keep screen recording, rejected this guy once more, he's sending it. And they bring those evidences for us. People have to understand that with technology, you can create new forms of harassment, but technology can also be used to crack them.
Yeah. How should organizations define professional boundaries when work happens across devices? Because today we are not using one device. We use it. We use mails from laptop, our tabs, our mobiles. There are multiple devices, right? Also, while we travel, we connect to different networks, right? And there are more lot of digital channels we access also while we are using these devices. What should be the defined professional boundaries?
Yeah. See, I think a lot of organizations, they have their own access setup where they have to log in, and the safety is taken care, where they have to log into each whichever device they use. They have to log into their systems to access. So that way, those safety is taken care of. But ensure if you're using your phones, if you're having conversation while on travel, or discussing certain things, don't ensure you're in a safer place. Don't do it in public places, right? Get into a safe space and discuss or share, because whatever you're discussing on work related stuff, or there could be personal things that you could be talking about, it gives a lot of impressions to others who are watching. So where we don't want to reveal, so that safety has to be taken care of, and set boundaries. But otherwise, technically, the organizations do restrict data, because one, for them, the DPDP Act and all is there, customer data sensitivity and all is there. So that is more important for organizations. So they protect data being restricted, access being controlled. So that's something that's taken care. And also another thing is, people think that the conversations are not being monitored. Whatever emails that they send, the conversations over Teams, Microsoft Teams, chat conversations, the employees think that it's not getting monitored. Please note, all over whatever your discussions, all your discussions are being tracked and monitored. So we can trace any conversations, any patterns. So that's something that has been found. So do not use official resources, laptops, mobile phones, for personal discussions, or even in consensual relationship between colleagues. Do not misuse office resources for that. You can have a consensual romantic relationship with your coworker, but keep it outside office. Use your personal device for any, or personal mail ID for those things, communications.
Where can technology help secure reporting, case tracking, awareness nuggets, trend analysis, and where must human judgment remain central?
Okay. So one of, as I said, technology has been a boon for us. One, in case reporting and all those things. I don't speak Marathi or Bengali, but I can listen to a victim who's sitting and speaking in Bengali. I can get it translated live while she's speaking. Right? So I can still
Okay.
understand. So that way the technology can thing. And if I type it in English, the minutes of meeting and everything, I can get it translated to the language that the person is comfortable in with. Use technology now, transcripts from recordings easily come
Mm.
out for us. right? So technology has been a blessing in disguise. It can track the number of cases and even posters and everything. We have videos, posters to to create awareness mesh things, right? So AI tools are there to create beautiful posters nowadays to create sensitization. You can create it for using quizzes that you can use for giving awareness to your employees. So technology has been a boon if HRs and IC members use it in the right way, even for report purpose or cracking the cases, finding evidences. We have definitely been using it, but at the end of it, the core is the belief that IC members have to be fair, accountable, and empathetic to the case at hand, because these are sensitive cases that we are dealing with. Someone is scarred for their life. If the victim is impacted, she's scarred for the life. The respondent could be even losing their job. So that any amount of technology cannot replace. So being empathetic, sensitive, and being human is something very important.
So I have three questions which have come up as the comments that are there. I'm bringing them onto the screen now. What does your organization measure most today? So that's one question that has come.
Okay. Um, so many organizations are still measuring the compliance part in terms of whether training records are being done, whether the annual returns are being filed,
Mm,
whether the she box is compliant. See, these are compliance, right? Yes, compliance and prevention. But the stronger measure, as I said, trust is something that's very important. Do your employees trust
trust.
that they can speak up confidently? Do they trust the organization that if they file a complaint, will they get justice? I think
Mm,
trust is something that is very difficult to measure also. But those simple anonymous polls that I was talking about, where you just put it up saying, hey, will you trust our organization to support you in case you're
mm,
having a problem? Will you report it without fear? These are questions that you should measure and ask. Simple questions like, how many of you are victims here?
mm.
These are things that you should be measuring instead of saying that, hey, there are zero complaints. That's nothing to be proud of. But are there zero victims?
Okay. Uh, I'm having some this one which I'm not able. I'll bring it up. Yeah, I got it. So, would a new employee know within 5 minutes where and how to seek help? Why it matters? A safe process must be simple enough to access when somebody is under stress. This is one comment that is coming.
Yes. So I think very, very important. Just look up. See, policies are mandate for every organization.
Mm,
So just look up in your internet site where the policy is, or ask HR where can I get the policy on PoSH. Read it up, and you'll know where to report it. So that is one quick way that you can do. If your organization is small, if you're working in a small, or if the organization is not compliant, they don't even have a PoSH policy, then there's something called She Box portal.
mm,
SHE hyphen box. SHE stands for Sexual Harassment Electronic Box. So
okay.
this is with the government of India. It is in the
Mm,
central government, the National Commission of Women or Women and Child Ministry. They have created something called She Box, which is a complaint box where any women from any organization can just go and file a complaint there, and the government will take care that it gets directed to the right person. And if the organization is not having a policy, they will ensure the organization forms the policy and justice is provided to the victim. These are simple mechanisms. Be aware. Awareness is key. Have and knowledge is something that's going to be your tool.
thank you for that. And we have one question here. What is one workplace behavior that is often normalized but should be challenged earlier?
Hmm. The thing that I can get away with anything with power, right?
Yeah.
So I think that is something people with power think that they can get away.
Mm,
People who are top performers think that they can get away. I think that is something that has been normalized and that should be checked. And how do you put these checks and balances? Is that when leadership, internal committees are easily accessible, or when you have some skip level meetings. So that is when we know that when top leaders directly reach to the bottom level employees and have a conversation, when that happens randomly, so these things get challenged, and uh, the layers or the hierarchy is shattered. Power play and position gets shattered, and that's something that's very important in any workplace.
Okay. With this, we are on top of the hour. Plus, I have some takeaways that I want to list it out while we conclude our session for today. Before we conclude, a PoSH is a policy, right? And is PoSH policy is necessary, but trust determines whether the people use it, right? So that is the first point. Silence is not neutral data. It is a signal of fear, is what we want to say. Low confidence, weak awareness, and concerned about relations. That's the first point that we started with. Internal communities need more than legal structure, is what we said. They need credibility, neutrality, sensitivity, and visible process discipline, is what we understood. Hybrid work and digital channels require organization to operate, update awareness, boundaries, access, support, evidence, and handling practices. How do I talk, whom to talk, where to speak, how it is to be reported is one thing that we should look at, is what we are saying. The strongest leadership measures is not zero complaints. That's what you said. It's whether people believe they can speak up safely and receive fair response. Because the whole discussion that we were talking so far, we were talking about how it can be made safe for people to report, and they are not get targeted, so are suppressed, right? So that's the pointers. Any final pointers that you would like to give before we conclude, Vijay?
Mm, I think speak up if you're a victim. If you're a witness, please support the victim and report it to the concerned HR or to the internal committee. And if you are a perpetrator, if by any chance if you're harassing someone, respect your colleagues. Will ask a simple question: will you like it if it happened to you or to your family member? Or will you like it if tomorrow HR gets to know about it and if you have to lose your job because of that?
Mm,
Sometimes you might even end up losing your family because of that.
yeah.
Would you want to continue with that behavior? These are some simple things for victim, witness, and for the perpetrator that I would like to leave with.
Thank you, Vijay ma'am, for making this deeply human and highly practical. The message for today is clear that PoSH does not need to succeed because an organization policy is there, a poster or a committee. It succeeds when people believe speaking up will help to dignity, fairness, safety, and accountable action, is what we wanted to say. And with this, as we are on top of the hour, we would like to conclude our session and thank the audience and yourself for being here today to discuss this very important topic.
Yeah.
With you.
I enjoyed being part of this. Thank you. Thank you for having me over here.
Thank you, ma'am.